Free spirits, welcome back to another episode of the Flying Upstream podcast.
Our guest today is Cori Myka. Cori is the founder of Calm Within Adult Swim with over 25 years of experience in adult swim education. She specializes in helping adults overcome their fear of water through a unique blend of mental and physical training techniques.
That is right. And Corey's mission is to empower individuals to become confident swimmers and embrace personal growth by working with students and certifying instructors. Corey has pioneered a unique approach offering adult swim lessons and certifications online, which is something that most people think is impossible. Corey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
So I want to get right into it. Cori, your work blends mental and physical techniques to help adults overcome their fear of water, which is quite different than traditional swim lessons.
Mhm.
Can you tell us how you came to discover this unique approach and why you felt that it was important?
Sure. So I started out in kind of the traditional place, traditional, Red Cross, YMCA community center kind of style of things, teaching people what to do with their arms and their legs. And when we started our own swim school, we really made it a priority to follow the students versus trying to fit the students into a box, like check all these things. It's like, no, our job is really to come over and meet the students. And so in that, it gave me more time and permission to check in with my adult students and say, I'd get them to swim across the pool. They're doing all the physical skills. And I'd say, well, how was it? And I get this deer in the headlights look of like, I have no idea. And I thought, what is going on here? And it wasn't the first time that I'd heard it. It was kind of this accumulation of like, okay, people are doing it, but they'd say things like, but I don't really feel like a swimmer. And that was one of those clues. I don't feel like it. I'm doing it, but I don't feel it. I don't own it. Something is missing. And so that was really my inquiry into what is missing. I can keep giving them physical tips, but that's not doing it. That's not getting to the heart of it.
I love that. I wonder because I am someone who learned to swim as an adult, and swimming to me myself feels like an experience that's outside of me. Like sort of like how you mentioned, like it's not, they didn't know. It's something that is external to me. It's like I didn't own it for a very long time. And I wonder, in a world where so many adults may fear swimming or are intimidated by the idea of learning, how have you or how do you help shift their mindset to be able to empower them to feel that ownness and to have that ownness in the swimming experience?
I love that you say that idea of it feels external to myself. And that is a way that we learn a lot of things as an adult. We're very in our head. You have a vision of what it's supposed to be, and then you're used to accomplishing tasks. And so you're focused on these are both very external things. Now, be this learning to swim or learning to dance or any kind of somatic activity where you're using your body. If we're focused externally, that's how we miss that internal piece of it. And so that's really how we change the narrative is we focus more time really on what is happening in the body instead of out of the body. And that's how we start to connect with the body. So we have to let go of those checklists. The checklist, swimming in particular, is about getting to the other side of the pool oftentimes. So that's very external. You're looking at safeties over there. The goal is to get over there, which right away sets you up for being outside of your body instead of being in your body, which is where you have to be in order to know what your body's doing, to know if you're at ease or have tension, to know if you've connected to the water or you're slipping through the water or whatever. The information's back here in our body, not out across the pool at the other side of the wall or something like that.
That makes so much sense. I think of that too, about just in life, how many people are, as you said, kind of outside their body. They're just so not tuned in to what's happening for them, and how important that is to get to that place where they can check in with their body and notice, am I scared? Is this too much for me? I need to step out for a minute, and setting that piece up for success before you continue with the physical piece. And I love that you address that. I'm curious to know, for people who may not have access to a pool, or just not ready to jump in the water just yet, are there any at-home exercises or practices that can help someone begin to build their confidence in the water even before stepping into the pool?
For sure, because we do want to, if confidence is what somebody wants, and this is true for swimming or anything else, we have to start from what we want. We want to grow the thing we want. So we can do what we call borrowing confidence from something else. And so that's even something we can play with outside of the pool completely, to understand how you use confidence in one area of your life to pull it into another area of your life, to be able to see something like, well, when I did this other new thing, I was in charge of keeping myself safe, right? I put myself into a scenario or a place or an expectation that I kept myself safe. So you can kind of review that and see, oh, now this like locus of control, the locus of safety, the building of confidence starts within you. Okay, now I have that, a little bit of that formula that I can take into the other area. And this is why this is the biggest reason why I love teaching people to swim, because there's such a feedback in the water. And so it's very applicable than anywhere else in your life, right? You can take it to other places, but you can also do it to get yourself started in the swimming.
I love that. That's wonderful because, as you're saying it, and a lot of the tips that you're giving and the information that you're sharing, you're sharing like parallels to other aspects of our lives. And I've never thought of swimming that way, especially as, someone who did learn how to swim as an adult. So I really love that. And it sounds like you have been able to do that, though, not just with the tips that you're giving us today, but also in the online program that you've created. I'm very interested in this because I was terrified to learn to swim as an adult. And this online program that you've created for adult swim education is not something that most of us would think would be possible, right? It's like hard enough when we're like physically there and am I going to get in the pool, and I'm scared to get in the pool and in the water. What challenges did you face in developing an online swim program, and how did you overcome those to make sure that it was successful and that the students were getting out of it what you intended for them to get out of it?
Honestly, the biggest challenges was, and still is the production side. Like my own, at that time, I put it together pre-COVID. And so it was still, it's the whole like videoing and creating the content piece of it. That was new for me. And so that's really putting myself into my students' shoes, right? Of, okay, one bit at a time, one piece at a time, building that up in little ways. What we already had was how to deconstruct the swimming, both the mental and the physical steps, into small enough steps that are manageable for the adult learner. One of the biggest problems, besides not having the mental education to go with the swimming, is the other big problem in swimming and other areas too, is that teachers are oftentimes giving way too big of steps, and they're missing. I think there's a whole area of beginner education that is missing in most adult programming, because the person who's teaching it oftentimes learned it as a younger person, and there's a lot of organic learning that they learned as a young person that they don't really remember doing. And so when they just remember what I would call as things that are a little bit more advanced. So beginning swimming often starts with kind of front crawl, like getting people, that's like the goal in mind, is to get people to swim a lap across the pool. But there's all this earlier information that is missed. And we already had that worked out. So then it was just a matter of putting that into online modules. And it works perfectly for that because they're small enough steps that you go to a community center pool or someplace where there's a lifeguard. We're not telling people, we are, look, you do have to look out for your safety, but giving them a tiny enough step and the mental framework to go with it. We found when I started testing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, these students are asking the same questions at the same times as our in-person students. They're having the same realizations and ahas as our in-person students. So, just built it up bit by bit like that.
I think we need to take a step back too in the process. I love that your focus is not just on swimming across the pool from one end to the other, but the mental side of it too, and recognizing that we do grow up in a society that gives us limiting beliefs, right? Especially when you are an adult that does not know how to swim. There are certain things that come along with that, certain beliefs. And I think this is one of those skills that it's believed these are for kids or something that should be learned at a young age. So how do you combat this mindset? And what do you think we can learn from embracing new challenges as adults?
So I oftentimes parallel learning to swim like learning a new language. A lot of people have more familiarity with the idea, if I'm going to learn a brand new language, I have to allow space to be like a toddler. And that's really difficult because your cognizant, your thinking brain thinks at the level of an adult, but then you're speaking at the level of a toddler because that's, in a new language. And so it's the same with swimming, that people come there and they're like, I've seen people do these things. I've seen triathlons, people who look like me. I've seen, mostly what we're given is the fitness sport. That's what you see people doing, is the fitness sport. Even though what I really find people really want to do is they want to snorkel in Hawaii. They want to kind of just relax in the water and feel the goodness of the water. And so it's helping them understand the piece of how do we go back to the child mindset, let the child part learn while honoring and keeping track of your adult brain. You're not asking people to ignore that they're adults, because that is weird too. But it's playing with that dynamic. And I actually think, this is what's such a great thing of learning something new as an adult. You get to push and pull into different parts of your brain instead of, at work or something, we're very in the thinking part of our brain a lot of the times. And so having other activities that we're learning stretches and produces growth in a new and different way that I think is very healthy for our brain.
I love that. And to me, all of this sounds like, I know we're talking about your swimming and teaching people and, certifying instructors, but to me, what you do goes beyond just that. To me, it really sounds like you're doing a lot of work in helping people with the mental and physical aspects of it and helping people overcome fear. It's like you're giving them tools that are parallel to other aspects, every other aspect of our lives, in order to be able to overcome the water in this situation. But because what we do here is really, bring out and highlight, ideas that are beyond the societal norms, I want to mention that it really sounds like what you're doing is like a holistic approach to swimming. It's an approach that encompasses a lot of aspects of who we are, the mental, the physical, and a lot of, for example, I'll bring this up just because it came up mentally for me, but for us around water, there could be some wounds, some childhood wounds, and some childhood trauma that some of us may have experienced in that area. So it feels like what you're doing is a lot bigger than that. And I wonder for you, have you seen, or is there anything that you can share in terms of like the societal norms, the impact that this has had, or that you've seen in the adults that you do teach, how that may connect to a larger moving kind of issue that we may have in society?
There certainly is. There are many reasons why people don't know how to swim. And there are a lot of those reasons that are rooted in institutional reasons. So if we look at, certainly segregation and gender, who gets to recreate and who doesn't get to recreate, who gets to access to pools and who doesn't get access to pools, who is told things about their bodies being good or being bad. There's even areas of, because one of the pieces is asking people to feel into their bodies. And so if we've experienced any sort of physical traumas in our bodies or haven't had space to come back and heal, numerous traumas, it could have to do with the water or not, but having a space and a venue to say, I'm in charge, I'm in control, and I'm going to experiment with finding permission to be in my body while I'm doing this activity. And this is a huge opportunity for people to heal if they want to. And that's the big key thing, right? If you want to, this is something that is of interest to somebody to take on those pieces. But in that piece of, there are lots of, one of the reasons why, I'll back up a little bit. One of the reasons why we focus on adults is we really found this was our unique way into preventing drowning. Most focus is on children, but the people who take children to learn to swim are adults. And they either will, if an adult doesn't know how to swim, they have two choices. They can like make sure their kids go out and swim, or they make sure they're afraid so they never get in the water and drown, right? Like both are very loving choices. And so when we intervene at the level of the adult, we give them opportunity for a new way, because it's very hard. Why would you, if you don't know how to take care of your child in the water, and you've had some negative stories, generational stories around that, why would you put your child in that? That would be very difficult. So it's an opportunity to break that cycle within family units as well.
That's powerful.
That is, and I can appreciate that what you're doing is not just helping one person. As you said, you're helping the entire family unit and sending, creating a role model for the future generations, which is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Cori, I can't believe we're almost out of time together. So we have one last question for you. As someone who's built a unique approach to teaching and certifying instructors online, what do you think the broader lessons are for those of us who are looking to break free from traditional career paths or the education system?
Sorry, say the last part of the question again. I was listening to the statement and I missed the question part.
Oh, it's okay. What do you think the broader lessons are for us who are breaking free from traditional career paths or education systems, like in terms of how we learn?
What I would really like for people to be able to take away and to be able to take into their lives is to be able to, and this is for your career, for learning anything, is to dip into listening to yourself. and your own inner truth and wisdom, right? And this is where, when we talk about it's okay to be afraid, it's normal. Like it's the shaming, it's the going, turning away from it. That's when it becomes problematic. But when we can allow ourselves to sit for a moment and say, gosh, beautiful, wonderful self, why am I feeling afraid? What is it that that part of me needs? And so that we can take into any area. I had a thing with an employee, right? I had to stop and see, okay, my body's telling me something here. It's okay for me to slow down a little bit and tune into that, and then lean into whatever it is that I'm doing next with that employee, right? That to give that space and to tune in. We all have a special and unique perspective, and I just think it's so important for us to learn to tune into that and to honor that, our own internal wisdom.
That is beautiful. Well, thank you, Cori, so much for sharing your incredible insights and practical tips with us today. I think we can all take away something valuable, whether it's about overcoming fear, building confidence, or simply taking that first step towards something new.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Corey. You have really shown us that learning doesn't have an age limit and that swimming, like any other skill, can be a gateway to so much more than just physical ability. It's about mental strength, self empowerment, and breaking through the boundaries that we often set for ourselves.
And for our listeners, whether you're diving into something new or confronting your own fears, remember walking the road less traveled often requires taking small steps, but those steps can lead to big transformations.
So, if you're feeling inspired to face your fears or take on any challenge that you have been putting off, whether it's swimming or something else, today might be your perfect day.
Thank you, Cori, for joining us and sharing your wisdom. And thank you, Free Spirits, for being part of our flock. Keep flying upstream, keep pushing past those limits, and we'll see you next time.